This
meeting.
conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to call this Park and Recreation meeting for the RTM, the Park and Rec Committee, to order. I'm going to call attendance because I think Sue Ellen's probably not going to be with us. Then did anybody else other than Patty want to take minutes? Didn't think so. Okay, Patty, you're on. Thank you for saying you would do that. Sarah Baldwin.
Here.
Patty Baumgardner.
Here.
Diane Conalog.
Here.
Cheryl Russell.
Here.
Adele Conniff here. Sue Ellen Mitchell is not here. Andrew Millar.
He's here. He's just muted.
Okey-doke.
Right here.
Sandra Savage.
Here.
Lindsay Kelly. Sheila Sherwood. Shannon Silsby.
Here.
Hi, Shannon. Chris Taylor.
Here.
Bill Van Loan.
Here.
And Sean Wheeler. Okay. That's got us. May I have a motion for the approval of the minutes of June 14th?
So moved.
Second it.
Okey-doke. That's,
Cheryl.
thank you. That's Cheryl. I'm looking at McLean Russell. It's freaking me out. But anyway, and Sandy Savage seconds.
I don't know. I give up.
Okay, it's all right. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry, I neglected to ask, were there any corrections to the minutes before we voted? Okay, there being none. Cheryl made a motion and Sandy seconded. All in, are there any no's? Any abstentions? Then it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, I put the update on the Park and Rec budget transfer that's going to happen this evening at the Selectmen's meeting. Transfer of to the 2020-2021 budget transfer to the program expenses, just so that on the agenda, just so that everybody, just to make sure everybody understood that it's exactly the same thing as we had the $250,000 special appropriation for in June. We did that. Only this is not a special appropriation. This is an internal transfer. So they're just transferring from different departments to make up that shortfall, which was, get to it.
37,659.
There you go. 37,659. Yeah. So does anybody have any question? I mean, I spoke with Pam Geary about it, and as it's the same reasons that we heard before. The final total expenses came to $287,659, which left the budget them short $37,659. However, the program revenue hit an all-time high of $1,107,000. Yes, netting $302 back to the town. So it's the same reason so it won't come to the RTM, but I just want to make sure everybody understood what it was all about. Is there any questions? Okay. I think we talked about it enough before, didn't we? Okay.
The only thing I will say, Adele, is it'll be really interesting and hopefully easier for Parks and Rec. Am I echoing? For Parks and Rec to, there seems to be, I think they had 27 transfers within this last fiscal, which is very high compared to other departments at Town Hall. But I think the challenge has been really because of COVID, because it was hard for them to figure out how much business they would have from programming. She was also told sometimes to underestimate and other times to estimate right at the equal level of the year before. And then as a result, once things started to get a little better here, every family and their kids really kicked in on all the programming. So
Yeah.
I think we'll probably see a lot less transfers in the next fiscal. That's my only
Yeah,
feedback.
I think it'll still be a little bit hard for them to get it right. You know, well, COVID isn't gone, but I still, you know, it'll take a while before I think it all smooths out. So I would hopefully everyone will be kind. The figures on the opening day of registration for the spring and summer programs were in 2018, $49,794. 2019, $63,583. 2020, $43,170, and 2021, $214,350. So the programs, when programs took on waiting lists, they added more classes to, you know, sections to accommodate it. And so that's how we ended up where we are. So interesting. Okay, now I've lost my.
Was
There it is.
any of that because that number did any of that number have to do with the adjustment with remember how they changed the adjustment a year or two ago? Like, I feel like we lost a year in COVID, but remember how they adjusted how they reported things?
Well,
So
I mean, it's hard. It's I think it's difficult for them. It all used to come out of the same account, and now they're two separate accounts. Yes, and so I can see this happening again going forward. It's just real hard to gauge it, unless and until things sort of smooth out evenly. But it's a good problem to have. It's just hard to write a budget. That's all. So, Chairman's report. It's been a long time since we've met. I mean, June is a long time ago. I'm just going to say a few things, and then I think we can discuss what we want to discuss after that. I'll start with, you know, here we are. We're still in virtual. Patty and I talked about it. I think we've decided that we would stay virtual, that we were sort of following the larger RTM's lead on that. The problem is that we may indeed in the future have to have, you know, we may have to adjust when we have our meetings. That's all. The problem comes tonight. We have Cecil. We're using Cecil's license, but the RTM only has one license that they can use each night. And so if there are other committees that want to have meetings on the same night, it becomes difficult. Like I said, Cecil's using his own license tonight, so we're able to have a meeting, and education's having a meeting too. So just know in the future that may be a problem as we continue. Sort of interesting that the commission had a big discussion about going back to, and you know, it was an in-person meeting in July for their meeting, and they had a big discussion about they wanted to do that, and now I see they're virtual this week. So anyway, it has its pluses and its minuses. I want to follow up on the committee on what we talked about in June. We had a bunch of sort of requests and maybe some little moans to the commission back in, and so we gave it to them at their July meeting, and I just wanted to give you a little follow up on the things that they took care of, or what happened with some of the stuff. The Pear Tree Beach concession stand, we talked about it. We didn't think it was, you know, there was a problem with the way the concessionaire was being open or not open or whatever. Anyways, bottom line, we said at least please post the schedule. They did post the schedule and mostly kept to it till the end of the summer when they didn't. So there's that. Pear Tree Beach, the painting, you know, was done, and our one question left was, what is the timeline for dealing with the rusty sinks? And they did paint the rust. So through after we asked.
Adele,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt, but
Sure, go ahead.
a caller has arrived.
Maybe a caller could identify themselves. It's probably one of our people.
This is Sheila Sherwood. I couldn't get on my iPad, and this is my first time trying using my phone.
Okay, Sheila, you got it. Good to have you. Let me just make sure.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Hi, Adele, it's Andy here. Could we rewind to your first 2 points on Pear
Sure.
Tree Beach?
Yeah,
What was this? Why did the concessionaire have so many problems?
I think
Do
there
we
wasn't
know?
enough. I think we're gonna, I tell you what, can you hold that thought? Because I was thinking that once I gave my little updates, that I think there's several things to talk about, and I think the concessions were one of them. So, so you want to hold that thought, and we'll get back to
Sure.
it.
And my
Okay.
second one is you said something about the sinks. I
Yes.
wondered if you could repeat that.
Yes, I believe they painted the rust. They did not replace the sinks, but they painted the rust.
Well, they painted the sinks, but they didn't replace the rusted out fixtures.
Right. Correct.
And they
I'm just-
haven't repaired the broken lights either.
Correct. So I'm trying to give you all the positive things they did. They didn't do everything that we asked for. Absolutely. We had asked about the stop sign at the entrance, which looked really faint, and they took care of that. I think Charlotte said that the B containers were full, and were they going to do anything about that? And they did put in 2 more B containers. And there was a sign at the entrance letting people know the price of daily parking fee. I think they put that up as well. So those are the things that out of the list of all of our list that they addressed. Okay. Now I've lost my spot again. Sorry, guys. Too many pieces of paper, right? Right. Okay. The standards of care document, which the commission has been talking about. They're going to talk about it again on Wednesday. There's an updated one. If you had, what they asked at the July meeting was that if any of us had any thoughts about the standards of care document, we please pass them along to them. So I'm telling you that a bit belatedly. But if you have any thoughts, I think send them to Lori Bohr is probably the best thing. I'm going to give you the updates on the capital projects that's in Pam's director's report for Wednesday. Tilly Pond, the EPC gave approval for the dredging of the silt pond on September 1st. So I think they should be getting along with things there, hopefully. The Cherry Lawn tennis courts, they found that the cost had gone way up for the construction. And so perhaps, and I'm sure that they're going to talk about this at the commission meeting, they will postpone until 2022 to see if the costs come down. The other alternatives are to change what they're made out of, in other words, asphalt instead of post and beam, but it won't last as long, or ask for more money for it. The gazebo roof, they're getting prices on that now. That hasn't been done yet. And the tennis courts at Weed Beach, the front ones have been repainted and the back ones are in process. There will be a ribbon cutting at the pickleball court and for the basketball court on October 17th. And I'm glad to report, Sheila, that the trees were trimmed next to the pickleball court. And they said very carefully, and I approved of the company that they used because it's the same guy I use. So he's good. He does a good job. I'm sure he was very careful with that. And
Hooray.
I hope it takes care of the problem without doing anything drastic, but they're going to watch it. But if you read their report, the director's report, it explains it.
Yes. Well, I'm glad to hear that, and would like to think everyone is starting to be much more careful about what we cut down, and as well as which replacements should be happening. So that's good news.
Yeah, it is. Cheryl,
Adele, what time is that ribbon cutting?
I think it's at 1. It's in the director's report though for the commission. Okay. And also the commission on Wednesday will set the date for the annual parks tour. So, which we usually do right at the end of October, and they're very kind to invite us along. In fact, sometimes we have as many of us as they have of them. So it's really worthwhile, really, really, really worthwhile to do. Okay, that's all I have in my updates. There's an awful lot of stuff that we could talk about. I had some thoughts on discussion points. Now we're going to move to the next agenda item. I'm going to let you decide what you want to talk about. My thoughts, there's storm damage, there's the whole capital, the draft capital budget, which is in the commission's packet. There were some issues at Highland that came up over the summer, and then there's always the concessions. So I'm going to let whoever wants to go, or if there's something else you want to talk about, that's fine too.
I would just add, at the last meeting, I had taken pictures and we raised the concern of taking care of the facility at Weed Beach. So it's relatively new, but my photos showed that it is not being maintained. And I don't think they answered that question.
I don't think they answered it, but anecdotally, I think they were a little surprised at your pictures. And so they certainly paid attention to what you sent.
But so we should be hearing that they're doing something, right? Not just letting it go. And
I think
also
that
had
were mostly maintenance things you were talking about. In other words, emptying the trash, making sure places tidied up, that sort of thing.
Yes, but also the paint was off by the drains in the ladies' room. The door looked rusty, so it didn't look good considering this is our new building that we're proud of.
Right, I agree.
I wondered too, is there someone who is responsible to clean the bathrooms each day?
Yes, but we hire a company to do that. Yeah, we have a cleaning company, and they've been,
Okay.
and I think they have cleaned more since COVID than before as well. They upped.
That'd be good. And I know from a few years ago when I was routinely going with my little grandsons to the playground there that looks very nice. But one of the things they most enjoyed was the water play area. That got stopped up, and I think it's still not fixed.
Yeah, I passed that along.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I can say. Diane?
I'm wondering if anything more is going to be done to Pear Tree where the beach washed out. I know
Right.
that they smoothed out the sand there, but will more sand be added? And when? Don't know.
I'm just writing it down.
I don't think we've heard anything about that, but I think, I hope that they will talk about that a little bit on Wednesday night at the commission meeting.
I think they probably will. My worry is, and I'm going to ask Cheryl this. Cheryl, does it look like to you that the high tide is regularly higher than it was before the beach washed out? In other words, the sand has got to be immeasurably lower if they just took it and spread it around. I mean, they made it look a whole lot better than it was, that was for sure. But when I went down there and I wasn't exactly at high tide, it was awfully close to coming into the parking lot.
Well, I think that part of that is that the full moon was tonight. There's another full moon. I think the moon was high at that time. I think it was a full moon tide too. I haven't noticed on the front beach that it's been higher there than normal than any other year, but the back beach is so even Steven with the, the land and the water seem to be straight on. So they did do a nice job trying to straighten that big hole out that was there. And they cleaned up the boat ramp and cleaned up a big pile of debris that was in the parking lot. So they did do a lot of work there, but I can't say that it's completely finished. I think they need to, I would like to see some more sand added in that area, but I think maybe if they start pushing it around, it might work. I don't know.
Okay, that was just wondering. I was really just talking about the back beach. That's what I
Right.
was wondering about. But I wonder. I didn't check and see if it was full moon or not. So thank you. So, but any other? I guess that's mostly the storm damage that I was thinking of. Is to Pear for sure.
I have a
And-
question. Oh,
Sure.
are you finished, Adele?
yeah.
I whizzed through part of the package that you sent for the commission meeting. I haven't gone through the whole thing yet, but there was the information from the concessionaire that the amount of money that she made and lost and all of that. Does anybody remember what the percentage was that she was supposed to pay to the town? Because I didn't see that on the spreadsheet that she had of her expenditures. And I think she made something like $90,000 between the two beaches, mostly at Weed, of course. So what was the percentage that she was to take from that and give back to the town? I couldn't remember, and I didn't see it on that spreadsheet.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I think, is it 7%? I'd have to go back and look, to be honest. Does anybody really remember? Chris?
Yeah, 7% is exactly what I was thinking about.
Okay.
I remembered something like that, but 6, 7, I wasn't 100% sure. So now, does that 7% to
Well,
town,
that's me.
it might be a
Don't ask
question
me.
for Wednesday night. Is that 7% off the top of the income that she made, or is it after her expenses? To me, it would be off the top because it should be an expense off the top and then her expenses come out. Because this
I
is
think that's what I remember. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, if I recall reviewing the bid, it was 7% of total revenue.
total revenue. Okay, thanks.
While we're on the concession stuff, then, does anybody want to comment on Pear Tree and the concessions, or did we beat a dead horse already? I assume they'll talk about what, going forward, they'll talk about it and figure out what they can do, because it didn't really work very well this year at Pear.
I think we saw that at the.
I wonder if
Was that because there weren't
never
enough
going to be
people?
a success.
Okay, hang on a minute. I think we got Patty first. Go, Patty.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think we saw that at the July Parks and Rec Commission meeting that we went to, that, Pam felt bad for the concessionaire, but she really did get hammered at Pear Tree Point. But if you go back and look at the historical nature of Pear Tree, it was never a big revenue. I mean, it wasn't for Uncle's Deli, and it hasn't been in the past. And so I know they were trying to offer different kinds of food, but sometimes it's like a store in town. Sometimes one location is always going to work, but another location in a different spot doesn't work as well. So that will be their challenge, I think, going forward.
Yeah,
she did have
so.
them do the, we were able to order like picnic baskets for special events that were being held down there. And that was successful and that went well, but that was not, the ultimate goal for it to be successful. on a daily basis down there. And I know we saw that some people were frustrated that it was suddenly then not open every day of the week. But that's a tough call for the person who's running it. I don't know if she's coming back. That was my takeaway.
Perhaps they'll figure it out
Patty,
better
you
for next
said that
year.
the
Yes, Bill.
concessionaire,
Go ahead.
it's
Andy.
Andy, could I pursue that? You
Sure.
said that Patty, that the concessionaire got hammered. What did you mean by that?
What I meant by that was Pear Tree Point was not she wasn't making money out of there compared to what she thought she was going to make. Now that's also, if a business is going to invest in a place, they've got to do their research and figure out how successful that area was in the years past. So some of that is probably on the concessionaire. But it's a shame because I think we, as a town, we'd really like to see success there and new menu items and things like that. But I got the impression from that July meeting that was just my opinion. I don't know what you thought, Adele, was that she may not be coming back, or she certainly may not be coming back to Pear Tree for next summer. We'll see.
Oh, we'll see. It's right. They just weren't
Does
enough
anyone
people. Not
remember?
enough people, Andy. That's what that bottom line was. There were not enough people, so she cut her hours way back pretty
Yeah.
fast. And then, yes, go ahead.
Actually,
Andy.
she didn't even open during the hours that were posted.
So if I
Anyone
can,
remembered?
Andy,
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Andy, to your point, I went down a number of times and, had spoken to some of the actual employees themselves and not management. And they explained to me the same thing that, we hear across the board, that labor shortages certainly affect a lot of it. So they didn't have the ability to have short order cooks. They didn't have the ability to have people even bringing in product on a regular basis. And so most days, sometimes the only thing they could even sell was just ice cream out of that reach-in cooler inside.
Yeah,
So, I think it's partially part of, what the COVID economy is currently dealing us in terms of a hand. And if the concessionaire chooses not to come back, that's fine. I just think that, we should certainly start the search process for more bids. The fact that we only had 2 this past time around, again, I think there's a lot of uncertainty due to COVID, and I think it's great that we even had 2 to choose from. But as soon as we could potentially put out the request for a proposal for next summer for those locations and McGuan, it would be fantastic. I just think it just comes into greater planning and hopefully potentially more bids for us.
Does anyone remember, did the town purchase the kitchen equipment at Pear Tree?
Yes, we
Yes,
did.
it's used
So
equipment, yes.
we supplied the equipment and the concessionaire wasn't able to provide a survey.
There was that, and they just didn't have many people buying either. I think it was a chicken and the egg kind of thing too. Not enough people to make it worth her while to have the person there that wasn't easy to get, and et cetera, et cetera. They managed to do rather well at Weed. So, and I think everybody liked the food, but I think it was probably pretty frustrating. Yes, Cheryl?
I think that what may have happened was last summer, both beaches were packed every day, every minute of the day. And because of COVID, the clubs were closed, schools were closed. There was no place to go to get your kids out. You went to the beach. So I think that maybe they had looked at all the people at the beach and thought, wow, that's going to happen again this year. Well, with everything opened up, it went back to the way it used to be. It's a quiet beach. There's not a lot of people down there. However, on weekends, on Friday nights, it's busy. And I had mentioned I don't know, last year it would be great if she could stay open on a Friday night. Like Andy said, she wasn't open between 11 and 3 when she said she was going to be open. People were up there, you know, why can't we get ice cream, mommy? Why can't we get a hot dog? You know, I patronized it when it was open. My husband and I had our hot dogs and French fries and enjoyed it. It was very good. But the next time I went down to get lunch, she was closed. Now, on another note, the weather wasn't that great. We had a lot of rain this summer. And when you look out at, you know, 9 o'clock in the morning and you see cloudiness and rain, she didn't open. But at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun was out and the beach was packed. So there's a lot of variables here that I think she needs to understand and look at. That pear tree is not weed, and it's never going to be weed. It's never going to have a lot of people there, you know, buying lunch every single day. Some days if there's 10 people on the beach, that's a lot. Now, Labor Day was a circus down there. It was absolutely packed. There was hardly any parking. The boat, because school was in session, everybody was home, and the beach was packed, and she wasn't open. And I thought for sure Labor Day weekend she would try and take those 3 days and be open. So
I don't have an answer for that other than I did ask, because she was closed and you had told me, I did ask if by any chance that the concession had flooded or not, and it did not flood. It did not flood. So anyway, anybody have any more comments on the concessions?
Yes, I wonder if at Pear Tree, we should give up on having fresh food and salads and just have machines there where people can get drinks, snacks, and ice cream. And then nobody has to be there, because when you don't know if it's open, even though the hours posted say it is, once you've been stung, you don't want to go there counting on lunch. You'll go away hungry. And we know it's not making money, so maybe that would be a way out of that. But I wanted to mention, too, I was at Weed Beach yesterday, and I didn't know the concession stand stopped at Labor Day. Did it? Because the beach was full, and I saw people going up to the concession stand seeing if they could get something.
Oh, that's what I think their contract is, although I know if they wanted to extend it, I think that it's all negotiable with the department. But yeah, no, they were supposed to close on Labor Day.
Oh.
That's where it works.
Well, it would have been a moneymaker yesterday.
There's nothing like those fall weekends, right, Cheryl?
love them. Absolutely love it. Today was beautiful.
Let me sort of
So my
circle
thought
back.
is give up on Pear Tree and have machines there. So you can get a snack or a drink or an ice cream if you're there with your children and you're not counting on it for lunch, because we never know if it will be open or not.
Well, the ice cream trucks that came last year during COVID had a line of kids. So, you know, maybe that becomes an option where we look at food trucks, or we look at food trucks, as you're saying, Friday night. If a Friday night is crowded, Cheryl, maybe that becomes an option, you know, just some creative solutions, but that's something they'll all have to figure out. But the ice cream truck was always crowded.
Yeah, I think the commission's definitely got a discussion coming on all of this. I'm going to circle back to the storm damage. Is there anything else anybody wants to say? I noticed in the I know that, like Cheryl, like you said, the Park and Rec maintenance people were really busy, and they did a fine job down at the beach and with the cleanups. And I know, I just wanted to mention also that during Elsa, the town hall field was a super mess, and they had to clean that up. They cleaned up Diller. They cleaned up Holohan Field and the trail near Hacker. Plus, both times the DPW garage flooded badly, and they had, they tried to empty it. They did not manage to get everything out, and I think it said in the update that in the director's report that they have $45,000 worth of damage. I think,
Oh.
I guess it's the insurance company,
Some
They
of the
lost
mowers,
machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lost
some of the
machines.
blades on the mowers, are trying to repair, but other ones, they're gonna have to replace. So we're gonna see that as an add-on for the next budget, I think, or a transfer.
Yeah, exactly. And for the public works as well, I think. Yeah. Okay. The only other, let's see. Did anybody have a chance to have a look at the draft capital request and the 6-year plan?
No.
There you go, Cheryl. I heard you. Looks fairly straightforward. Except for I see they've got at Weed, there's a 2 new paddle courts at Weed. That was the plan going forward. So anyway, the commission's going to discuss this on Wednesday night, and what their priorities are. I wonder if it'll change with the tennis courts at Cherry Lawn costing more than they thought they were going to cost. If that's going to affect what their capital projects going forward will be too. That's my take on it. Any other comments?
I don't know if this is the place to bring it up, but a couple things I'm wondering about as possibilities. Maybe at, what's it called, where Ox Ridge was? I wonder if, Highland Farm, I'm wondering if there's a place that we could encourage bocce ball that doesn't take much space and seniors love it. And the other is for younger people, there's something that's very popular now in elementary school called Gaga Ball that just takes a small amount of space as well. And the perimeter for it can be put up and take down. So those are my questions for something new to consider.
Okay.
What did you call, what was that, Sheila?
It's called Gaga Ball.
Gaga?
G-A-G-A ball. And some elementary schools.
Yeah, I was going to say, sorry, Sheila. Yeah, I mean, I have a second and a third grader. It's at most of the elementary schools. It's an octagon shape, usually put up with, the fake timber or fake wood. It's maybe 30 feet around, and it only goes up to about 2.5 feet high. The kids like it certainly. To Sheila's point, if it can also be removed easily, would be a good one.
Okay. So Sheila, you should have
I'm glad you know more about it.
Good. You bring up Highland Farm, and that was the other thing that I had thought we might want to talk about, since at the end of this, that they're at the selectmen's meeting on the 30th of August, they brought forward those possible, let me pull it out here, possible proposed policy on what you could have there. So it's, to Sheila's point, something that where you could put down, remove after you use it, would fit right in with their proposed policy. It was pretty, if you read it, and listened to the selectmen's meeting, they were very restrictive, and I think intentionally so, by Kate Bush. She wrote them, I think. And so the selectmen, then she says it's easier to relax something than it is to tighten it. So she made them pretty tight, but they had a discussion, and they had I thought a lot of pushback from the public that they thought they were too tight. And so, including from the Soccer Association. So I think the discussion will be continued, but it is on the, and there may even be, I remember they said they were going to have a public hearing. and but it probably should be on everybody's radar that they're talking about it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Everybody,
Yeah.
so everybody's
Yep.
paying attention? Okay.
And I will just say, so for an example, Chris, actually, so thank you for describing, and Sheila, what that Gaga, that's a new,
Gaga Ball.
could be a new entry. I think with Highland, you know, we definitely have a contract with the Oxbridge Hunt Club, where there are certain restrictions of things that they can, we can have there and we can't have there. And so the challenge comes with soccer, with whistles. So they just started the fall program of Mommy, Daddy, and Me, which is the tiny Tot Soccer. And it was really adorable to see all the parents and the kids out there this weekend. And it's a, you know, there's a lot of parking space there. So, and it's spread out. And so that works because that's not whistles. I think the Ninja program that they had, which has really taken off at Cherry Lawn, I see that when they're doing it there. That's an example where they set that up on the days they do it and they take that down. So that's also, since the program you're talking about doesn't involve a whistle, but I don't know if there's any loud sounds because they're concerned, the Oxbridge Hunt Club is concerned about horses throwing people. But I think that those are interesting suggestions. And as we look to spread out some of the activities that the Parks and Rec are doing, we just have to keep in mind with regards to the Soccer Association that the whistles are a big issue.
I think the I'm sure they at the Soccer Association can defend their point of view, and I think they'll get an opportunity to do that. This wasn't even allowing you to have soccer nets. I mean, they took we're taking really very taking it to the extreme, in my humble opinion, what you could and couldn't do. So I think there'll be much discussion about it, and we should all probably stay tuned.
Yeah, I think they'll spread it out. I think that's my gut is that it'll be more younger versus older, and that's the way. But we'll see how they work it out. They just don't want to get sued by the Hunt Club.
Yes, I would like to add that
that's a good point.
If the soccer is far from the Oxbridge as it can be, do we really know if those whistles will really upset the horses? Or did somebody just think of this idea? Because that is so limiting to say you can't blow a whistle.
But evidently there's other things that you can do without blowing a whistle to, you know, and they do. I really do think they can figure it out, to be honest. But you're right. It's about as far away as you could be on that property, just about, you know, on that level area. And we put a lot of money, let's face it. The town's putting a lot of money in the ground.
We need to keep saying this is town property. All of us are paying taxes for it. And it frustrated me that, we can't do anything that has a whistle.
Well, I think
we need to be sure this land is, yes, we need to be sure this area is used for our whole community as much as possible.
I think it will be, can I just pivot the subject for a second? Adele, do you want to talk about, so there was supposed to be movie night on Friday night. Like that's one of these great examples where we can use Highland for special events also. And they had brought in portable lights and everything. And unfortunately they had to cancel it because of the rain. And it looks like they're pushing it back. I don't know if it's next Friday or if it's the 27th later in the week. They're doing that. And then they're also doing Rocktoberfest in October. So that's another great example where Jamie Gore, working under Pam Geary, Jamie Gore is in charge of the big special events that are going to be occurring on Highland. And so I think we'll get to see like a lot of fun use out of that as well.
I think that's true.
Yeah, they're going to have bands and food trucks and things like that up there. So to me, that would be more disturbing to Oxbridge than a whistle. But then again, if you have 5 games going at one time and you've got 2 referees, that's 10 whistles blowing all over the field at any one given time, if that was the case that they would have that maximum amount of kids playing up there. I don't have any idea how many games they would have up there at one time, but I'm sure the commission will figure this all out.
I agree.
Mhm.
Also, for any of the special events, the parking is limited. Is overflow just continued onto the field?
It does, yes.
They
Doesn't
went
go
to,
on the street.
no,
I don't think so, Sandy. I think you get a ticket if you park on the street.
yeah, now they had a meeting with P&Z, and I believe for that Oktoberfest or Rockfest or whatever it's called, they're going to have almost 400 cars up there, so that they were going to expand the parking over into a grass area. I mean, they'd have to. They don't have that in the gravel area. So they went to P&Z and they got the okay for that. So they're going to have quite a few people up there, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the regs that they can have a certain number, but not too many of these big events. And so that they keep it under control in that way. And each time you have to get a special permit to do that. And so you have to jump through the P&Z hoops. And
Right.
so the selectmen have control of it. And that I get they want to keep control of it. They want to keep the neighbors happy. They want to keep Ox Ridge happy, and they want to use the property as well. So it's a fine dance, but it's worth paying attention to, I think, as we move forward.
And they want to keep everybody safe as well.
Exactly.
People who are riding the horses as well as the people who are on the other side.
I know. I think we could use some more screening up there. I hope we will.
They just put in a lot of screening a month and a half ago. Oxridge did it on their own. Speaking of Oxridge, I just want to pivot to Oxridge School. As you know, is under, it's being built. And so one of the things that they did at Highland was they Pam allowed Oxridge School to use Highland Farms for their annual Oxridge picnic.
Yes.
Last weekend. So that's another nice added value. We have all this space that you can use, which is great.
That's good.
But by the way, I drove by there recently when someone whose home faces the area seemed to be having a party that he didn't have places for everyone to park. So they were using the parking for Highland Farms. So there is a little advantage for the people who live around that. And it's not always that we're making life more difficult for them.
Well, it looks mighty pretty too. They do a nice job of taking care of it. I realized they were trying to let the grass grow, but it looked like to me they cut it. So it looks very nice.
Yes.
It looks very nice.
Yes.
Adele, also, I believe that they're going to they've gone out to bid, or they're going out to bid on the landscaping. So that plan is to have it landscaped this fall, which will be lovely.
Yeah, that'll help, I think. Any more comments, folks? Any other topics you'd like to talk about?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Sheila.
Well, a few years ago, when Weed Beach was expanded, many people thought a pool was going to be there. And it seems that pool is a dirty word. And I remember there was a major study we paid a lot for that showed 3 different places we could have a pool. And maybe members on the committee know better than I do why it was dropped, but that was what most people said they wanted it. So I understand that that was too controversial. So then we went to Pear Tree, and then that idea was dropped. So I wonder if we as a committee would be representing the community and saying we still would like to have a pool and bring that up.
Can I just say something? I was on that committee that looked at putting what to do with Weed Beach and whether to put a pool there or not. And that committee voted it down. They did not feel it was the right place. My thinking is even expanded after the storm and after COVID. When I looked at it at the beaches last year and how crowded they were, and thinking about if you had a pool there, it might even be more crowded, number one. You can have people coming in possibly who don't live in town. If you didn't sell enough memberships, this would not be a freebie. This would be memberships to the pool on the beach. And if you were going to do that, you have to look at New Canaan, what happened there. They didn't sell enough within their own town, so they allowed other people to come in. Weed Beach is a terrific place to do that. You could have the pool and then people would just walk to the beach and the playground and tennis courts and whatever. So that's something to really think about there. Afterwards, the commission went ahead and did some reports and put the pool back in several places. But the original committee had voted that down.
Well, you mentioned, our points of view, maybe with all this flooding that we've had in these storms, it might affect people's points of view too. You just see it now, a black pool, just like Middlesex's kiddie pool, right?
The Middlesex Club, yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
And the tennis courts were ruined there as well. So they had to close.
And the alternative, one of the alternatives was Town Hall Field, which of course we know what's happened there.
Right.
Flooding, bad flooding. So I tell you, I don't know, Sheila. I don't hold out a lot of hope for your pool, but you never know.
At first I had hoped Weed Beach, because how lovely to be able to swim in the pool and enjoy the beach. But then I attended those hearings where we paid a lot of money for, a firm to give us many options. I think they had 5 different plans for where the pool could be. So, can we go back to that? I think the people of our community, the majority who don't have pool at their private clubs, would like to have a pool somewhere, even if it can't be in their ideal location.
Point taken.
Sarah has her hand up, Adele.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah. There you are. Go.
It's okay. Hi, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna have to second that with Sheila, that is probably one of the biggest questions I always get asked is, are we ever gonna have a town pool? I'm always asked it by people who know I'm on RTM. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just also know so many people that love going to the New Canaan pool, and yeah, they charge the non-residents a lot of money, and they all pay it, and it's a huge money maker for them, from what I know, for the non-residents to join the pool. So I don't know if it's just a topic that's just been completely dropped from Parks and Recs or whoever's, but I would think it would be something that would be I think people would be really excited if we had a pool in town. I do.
It's Andy. Actually, the rates when I looked up at New Canaan were something like $750 for an in-town resident for the season and $950 for out of town. So
it's over $1,000.
Really
it's over $1,000.
Wow.
It's like,
Since
yeah. A few years ago, I did it a few years ago, and it was over $1,000, and then I think they upped it the year after. I think they actually increase it almost every year on the non-residents. So I think they only allow 100 non-residents. So
to Sarah, our family got in on lottery 2 years ago. This year, and
yeah,
I think it was $1,200. I mean,
yeah, it was a little less than that 2 years ago.
And I do agree with Sarah. I do get asked the question a bunch, and especially now with the influx of new families. I mean, just again, prior to this call, listening to public comment regarding flooding, the amount of folks who have moved into town within the last 12 to 18 months. And I think the total increase in town population was 12%, which is significant. I think that pool should be potentially something we start looking back into. And, you know, out of all of the locations, certainly we saw plenty of flooding, you know, around Town Hall, so that would probably not work. But, you know, Cherry Lawn, I don't think it dealt with. I know across the street it had some across on Brookside, but the Cherry Lawn fields themselves, I believe, held up. So potentially that would be another one to look into again.
That's
That
pretty
was
over.
one that they did look at, Cherry
I know.
Lawn.
It'd be, and well, so we would sacrifice the soccer fields, but again, we do have Highland Park. If there's a world where we could, you know, be able to utilize those for soccer and have a town pool down at Cherry Lawn, I think it'd be fantastic.
Again,
like to
I'd worry
convince
about the
Zigglers
parking.
to donate. Part of the Ziegler property would be ideal if we could be convincing them to donate, or I think that would be a great, we should be spending a lot of time with those folks. It's the biggest piece of property.
Having raised all my kids here and wishing we had a pool, I can tell you the problem is that nobody wants it in their neighborhood. That's the issue. Every time you suggest where it is, then that neighborhood goes and says, no, 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 no. And that's the problem.
It is a problem, Sandy.
Well, it should have been put up at the
Yeah.
high school when the high school was built, and everybody
Mhm.
when during
right.
that time in the building committee didn't want to do that and spend the money up there. There's the area over there by the tennis court that I think they put a new tennis court in over there as by Nutmeg Lane, and that was the perfect spot for the swimming pool.
Well, it was actually in the original designs, but it was over by the gym. However, to Sandy's point, the neighbor said, not in my backyard.
That was, yeah.
And can you imagine now with the security, if we'd had a pool up at the high school and have a public come in, that would never work.
Exactly. I agree. I agree.
Not open to the public.
Well, it happened.
A long time ago, it was proposed to have it in the Norotan Heights, and those neighbors said, well, our street was not designed for all that traffic, but the pool that was proposed was super large because they were trying to make it a moneymaker that other people would come in for, you know, Olympic type events to hold there. And I wonder if instead it went back to being a smaller pool, if that might be an area to consider that was not on the recommendations of that consultation firm a few years ago.
Which area in Norotan Heights are you speaking about?
Edgerton. I mean, she's
Are
talking
you,
about.
you're talking about
Edgerton.
the former
Yeah.
Hollow Tree School?
Yes, yes.
I don't think
It
there's
was
That was when Yvonne Klein was
looking up there for that.
selectman.
There's also
Anyway, people want a pool. We should bring it up.
Okay.
I think part of the problem there was the parking and people coming, the buses coming out onto Edgerton Street was a big to-do. I mean, it's a very small street, and if you ever go down that street when
Yes.
those buses are coming out, it's just really
Mhm.
horrifying. I used to live there, so, you know.
Yes, but pool would be mostly summer when the buses wouldn't be coming.
Mostly.
Adele, is there anything else in the capital budget that you think is not included that we should think about throwing out there? Or
Not really that I see. Mostly, I mean, I see they put back in our stand-on blowers back in.
we're going to need that because one blower got hurt.
Oh,
in the flood.
really? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, well, that's good. I feel better about that then. I know they need to paint the exterior of the paddle hut. That badly needs painting. We want to install those swings at Baker because we got the swings. We didn't have enough money to put them in. There was not enough money left in the budget to put them in.
We haven't really done anything at Baker in a while either.
Yeah. And then resurface that playground at McGuan, you know, which needed it several years ago, you know, on the handicapped playground.
Right.
So it's all pretty pretty straightforward. And also replace the swing set for the 5 to 12-year-olds at Cherry Lawn, which is not a big ticket item, but sort of chips away at what you need to do around the different. So it's kind of, it's nothing earth shattering. What do I think is missing? I really think that probably we'll end up with the Cherry Lawn tennis courts back in the budget, and instead of those paddle courts, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, they're in bad shape. The tennis courts have pretty big breaks all the way through. So
Yeah. They need
Yeah.
to be done. It's just a matter of the money. Chris.
Just, I mean, I guess also to discuss, since we've heard from other parents who have complained about Cherry Lawn Playground, I did notice after the September 1st storm, I think one part of the playground itself, a hanging bridge, had broken apart, and my kids were there. There was a bunch of tape around it to keep kids off of it. But I do think it still continues to speak to the fact that we've heard concerns, and maybe as a potential part of the 22 budget, it is looking into making replacements to the general play structures at Cherry Lawn.
I think I don't see it. It's in the 25-26 budget. It's not in next year's budget that they put the big thing in there. I do know that was broken, and I did hear that somebody sort of makeshift fixed it, but now, and because it was taped off, and they sort of fixed it themselves, and then that wasn't right. So anyway, it's now been fixed. But yeah, to your point, things do break on the playground and the playground equipment, and they do need to stay on top of fixing it. And it is the question of, do you think that should be moved up a little sooner than in?
I concur with Chris. I think there should be some items added in, and we can give that feedback. I don't know, Adele, whether we do that now or whether we do that prior to her setting up. I mean, that's a draft resolution, right? That she has.
Oh, absolutely. And a draft. Yeah, absolutely.
So then I think maybe it would be good to give that input now. Because remember a year ago, after we had the meeting, one of the things that came out of it was people felt like we should have been trying to, let me rephrase that. One of the things you said was next year, let's try and get in front of them and give them feedback prior to Pam coming in and telling us what they'd already decided.
Yeah, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of their process.
Timing is good. Yeah, so thank you.
Anybody else have a comment? Do we agree that perhaps that's the case? Anybody else want to say something?
I would like to say something on a whole different subject. Are we through with this subject?
Okay, we can move on.
I watched I don't know how many of you saw the flooding discussion at the Board of Selectmen tonight at 6 to 7 and then the 7 to 8. It was very upsetting to see how many young families in this town, and elderly families in this town, have suffered from the flooding. But not only that, we are going to be asked on the RTM to give some money towards the purchase of a house on Crimmins Road. And that house had been flooded a couple of times prior to this recent flooding and these recent homeowners. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. When I watched the Finance and Budget, RTM Finance and Budget meeting yesterday, as they discussed it, they all approved the money going forward to purchase it. But what they did say is that they're going to knock this house down and leave it as open space. But Park and Rec is going to mow it and take care of it. So I was a little surprised by that it's not going to be Public Works and through the Board of Selectmen or the town. So I think we should be watching what goes on with that piece of property between now and our RTM meeting. They also said that Crimmins Road, which it is a private road. So we would have to be part of the expenditures, I believe, on that road. So if the road needs to be paved or the road needs to be plowed and they hire a plower, because it doesn't make sense to have the town go down and just plow right in front of that one house. How much money is that going to cost us? What else is there on a private road that we would have to contribute to? I'm just curious. I may call Jack tomorrow and talk to him about this because I don't have the answers, but I'm just throwing it out there. I think that there's going to be some expenses in this town for some flood mitigation, possibly buying up other people's homes, because I said I heard other people may come forward to ask the town and FEMA get involved in purchasing their homes. Tonight we heard a few people say they didn't know whether they wanted to stay in Darien, and if they could afford to sell their house, because now it's not in a flood zone, but it was flooded. So I think we need to keep, as RTM members, our eyes and ears open to some of this. I'm not so sure that if we have to do a lot of cleanup in town, what this will cost. It may take away some of our capital projects that some, I don't know. I don't know where the money's coming from. So I'm just throwing this out there because of what I heard. I suggest you watch the F&B meeting on the computer on 79, see what their discussion was. Kate was on there, and I thought it was very interesting, but I was surprised that Park and Rec is going to end up, I mean, they said it would only take like 10 minutes to mow it, but it's not, I don't see where it's going to, I don't know how it's going to help or solve or do anything for the flooding in that area, because it's been hit hard at least 4 or 5 times since.
Can I just add to that? I don't understand if it's a private road down there, and I did go by it as well. It's a private road, and we're going to knock down the house and own that piece of property. Can people go down to that piece of property if it's on a private road? It would be considered open space, but it's still on a private road, open space. So I'm not quite sure what that means, but I do know that they talked about in that presentation, F&B talked about 7 other houses. A number of those people spoke tonight at the earlier meeting, and I had read in some of the selectmen's reports there that there were maybe 12 other houses.
Right.
So just to say that if FEMA comes in, they give, I think, 3/4 of the amount, and the town would pay the other quarter to the homeowner for the property. So 12 other houses is a lot. And that if you go down Crimmins Road and look at where these houses are, I'm pretty sure I was looking at the correct house. And to the left of it is another house. So if you take down the one structure, is the water going to run into the other? And that's what I see, that whole area there. And some of the people on Crimmins Road did talk today. So I don't know how many houses we're talking about exactly on that road, but it seems like there might be a number. And again, I go back to it being a private road. So even if you knocked a number of them down, you really would just have to leave them sitting there. But could people go there? Because then the town would own it. And it's a private road again.
Good point.
Good questions.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't even know where Crimmins Road is, but
Town Hall.
it bothers me a lot that we just had, I think, 12 oak trees taken down in the middle of town in the same area that was flooded recently. And there just doesn't seem to be an understanding and respect for the trees, not just because we love trees, but for all they can do to help lessen the flooding.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about?
I just want to know, did anybody else get water here except me? I mean, I did get it. Anybody get it? Yeah, you
I
did?
had a few inches in my cellar.
I did too. The sump pump just couldn't keep up with it. It just came up. And in the garage through the side door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Chris?
Adele, it's Shannon. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Looking at that report about capital improvement projects, just a
Yes.
Tilly question about the widening of the paths.
Yeah.
Do you think, or does anyone know if the path that leads out of Tilly and up the hill, that kind of slight hill through the woods to the parking lot, kind of behind, that post road structure, do you think that path is included in being fixed? And maybe I can re-describe where that path is.
I know what you're talking about, but
Okay.
I don't have an answer. Patty, do you know? I think in the past we just said it was the main one that runs through Tilly, but
I think it's the main one because they were trying to get the truck through, but we can
make it
follow up
wider.
for you, Shannon, and get back to you.
but we
Yeah.
we can find out. Yeah.
That path in particular is very heavily traveled now, which is so fantastic, but it's in really bad shape. With macadam literally broken on multiple sides, and then kind of is kind of strewn to the left and the right. I just wondered if that would be considered a path and in fact fixed.
We'll ask the question.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Adele, I just have one other point or one other question. I think it was last November we were talking about dealing with, I guess most humane ways to deal with geese at Highland and some of the other parks. And I know we had talked about, I think there was like herding or shepherd dogs or something like that we could potentially use. Did we do any of that? Because I mean, mentioning Tilly reminded me. I mean, there still was a ton of geese this entire year at Tilly, and if there's any plans to potentially, it's about to be season for them to start flying over and then be back again in the spring.
Yeah, the last I heard is that we were trying to hire we were in discussions with the fellow with the dog, and he was just not answering our calls, and so I don't know what's happened after that.
I think he might have come. I do think he might have come. It's much better. It's not great. There are a lot of geese, but there's much less geese, all over the ground.
Okay. Well, that's good. I hope so. I know Pam was trying, but the last time somebody asked her that question in a commission meeting, that was the response, is that she was trying, but she hadn't had any luck with him. So good. That's good. That's good to hear. I hope so. I'll ask.
Thank you.
Okey-doke. Good point. Well, if that's it, folks, I will take a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is on October 13th. I hope. I don't know. I don't think we have a conflict with any other RTM committees that night, but I'm not positive about that. So, but that's when it's scheduled. It's a Wednesday, October 13th.
Thank you, Adele.
I wonder if we might meet in person. Consider it.
No, you weren't on earlier, Sheila?
Yes.
Go ahead, Adele.
Go ahead. Well, Patty and I had a discussion, Sheila, and we decided that at least for now we would stay virtual. We'll follow the RTM's. I mean, RTM's lead with that. I think there's a lot of, well, in my opinion, anyway. Everybody can chime in if you don't agree with us, but that was the conclusion we came to. Delta is out there, and I really would feel more comfortable if we stayed virtual, at least for now.
Sheila,
Okay.
the challenge is that it was going to be hard. I mean, as much as I want to see everybody too, and hang out and go for a beer afterwards. But we weren't going to be able to do a hybrid where it could be some of us who could make it and some who couldn't call
Right.
in. They've made that decision. They're not going to do a hybrid for
Mm-hmm.
meeting. So it's all in or not. So at this juncture, it just seems better to kind of finish out maybe the next few months here, and then hopefully we can move forward. We'll see.
Exactly. I mean, you notice that the selectmen had moved now. They may have had other reasons for it. I don't know their motivation, but they moved back to virtual, and the commission has moved back to virtual this week too. So for now, I think, and the good thing is, Sheila, it's easy to now. You can go to the commission meetings. I'm teasing. We had this discussion about. Yeah, I will say you do notice more people attend. This way. It is a lot,
I have
nicer
such
to
a
be in
hard time
person.
with it. I can't get it on my laptop. I feel like I don't know anybody because I can't even see people. And I always feel like I'm interrupting because I can't tell what's going on. But, and today the good news came that, children will soon be able to be vaccinated. So it seems like there's hope for the future.
Yeah, I agree. And I know it's a challenge. And if you look on the screen, Bill has a terrible time of it. His computer and GoToMeeting don't like each other. He does just fine
Exactly.
with the larger
Zoom works
RTM.
fine for me, but I can't do GoToMeeting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Patty and I had this discussion. So Zoom, if we have problems with the meetings, with having a GoToMeeting license available to us, Zoom is an alternative, and that's a different discussion. Some people don't like Zoom at all, and some people are fine with it. We would have to have somebody on our committee that would have a Zoom license. I believe Patty has one, but everybody would have to buy in and say yes, they wanted to use Zoom. I don't mean buy in. I don't mean it's going to cost you any money.
It'll cost you a bottle of wine and
poor choice of words, but people will have to vote and say whether they really want to use Zoom or not. I think it's fine, but not everybody's a fan. So that's kind of where we are on all that.
Okay.
Adele.
Yes.
Adele, it's Shannon. Just
Okay,
two more things. One, you said 7:30 on the 13th of October.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Sheila.
Time. Yeah.
Yes.
7:30. Okay. And Sheila, if you would need some tech help, maybe connecting via your phone, I'm happy to meet you at one of our amazing parks, and I can maybe help you with your phone. I connect via my phone.
It's working on the phone, but I have a laptop and an iPad, and it never
Just
works.
let those do other things. Just use your phone for this.
Okay.
I'm happy to meet you at Tilly, and we can look at it.
Okay. Thank you for the offer. Okay.
You are.
What is our next date? 7:30 when?
The 13th of October. Okay. Wednesday, October 13th. But if you can, everybody tune in on Wednesday for the commission meeting, because there's just a lot. We just sort of grazed across the stuff, but there's an awful lot on their plate, so worth listening to. Okay, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Is it possible to attend that or not?
Yes, it is, Sheila. They're remote. It's remote. It's a virtual.
Online.
Yep. So we can all attend.
Maybe I'll go.
Okay.
Who made the motion to adjourn? I didn't see who raised their hand.
Cheryl.
Okay.
Cheryl, and then Diane seconded.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were raising your hand, Diane. No,
that's okay.
That.
I did.
Anything else, guys, before we're gone? Okay, we'll see you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Cecil.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Adele.
Good night.
Thank you.